All right, subtracting real numbers. Yesterday we did adding, positives and negatives, one of each, one way, one the other way. As we're looking at today's stuff, once again, the numbers that I've set up there are very straightforward, very simple. It would not be my expectation that much of this would possibly trip you up. It's more about the process, so when you get to higher numbers and complicated numbers, hopefully that will be straightforward in that capacity. But when you're subtracting numbers, if possible, have you seen that before? Rewrite the problem as adding a negative. Is that familiar? So 2 minus 5 becomes 2 what? Plus a negative 5. Now, if we just do that very simply, now everything, Ty, that we did yesterday applies to today. The signs are different, so you subtract 5 minus 2 is 3. Because the larger one is negative, the answer is negative 3. So, adding a negative becomes subtracting very quickly. So, instead of 4 minus 9, what does this become? 4 plus a negative 9. Dylan, signs the same or signs different? They're different, so we subtract. 9 minus 4, Dylan, is? Negative 5. Okay. Here, negative 12 plus negative 5. The signs the same or the signs are different, Hannah? Signs are the same, so we add. 12 and 5 is 17. Chance to be cool. And is it positive or negative? Negative. Now, what about that whole idea that two negatives make a positive? When do two negatives make a positive? When they're multiplication. All right. So let's look at number 3. 4 plus a negative 7. Well, now Emily's got it. We've got a negative times a negative, right? So these two negatives, since they're right next to each other, make a positive. Well, now we're just left with 4 plus 7 is 11. So, change your subtraction to adding a negative. For many of you, that makes it a lot easier. Some of you may get so easy and so proficient at this that it doesn't matter to you. And if it doesn't, that's perfectly fine. But the rules of addition merely are adding a negative compared to the rules of subtraction. So, slide it down. Let's apply it now to some more applications. 1/4 minus 2/3. We have to do two things here. The first thing is we have to deal with the minus. The second thing we have to do is deal with the fact that we have fractions. All right? Now, help me out here, Christian. Between 4 and 3, can you think of the common denominator?
12.
12, okay. So 1/4 becomes how many twelfths?
3.
Good. That becomes 3 twelfths. I'm going to make that plus a minus. And 2/3, somebody else, becomes how many twelfths? Ethan? How many? 8 twelfths, because you multiplied both by 4. All right. Now that we have common denominators, we can combine. Same sign, different sign? Different. So 8 minus 3 is 5. So negative 5 twelfths. Couple options. You can put your negative in two locations, either on top, like that, or out front. But do not ever put your negative in the bottom. Okay? So negatives can go in one of two spots, either negative 5 twelfths like that, or a negative in front with the 5 twelfths here. Be careful if you write it this second way, because the negative needs to be distinctively separated from that fraction bar, otherwise I will not see the difference in your stuff. All right, little review. Those vertical bars mean what? And what was our definition? Someone from our front table here. What is the definition of absolute value? Anybody remember? You're not in the front table. Thank you, Clay. Any one of our big four. Give me anything you can. You just make it positive. What do you make positive? I like that idea. It has to do with making the answer come out positive. Go back to our second table. Wyatt? Okay, the distance away from 0. Now, I like both of those together. It's got to come out positive because it's distance. So do I say positive 13 and positive 21, add them together, I get 34, so my answer is 34? No. When you have absolute value, get that part in the absolute value down to one number. We always want to take the absolute value of one number. So before we do the absolute value, we've got to simplify this. Negative 13, see these two minuses right next to each other? What do? They become a positive. Now we have two different signs. We have 21 and we have 13, so we subtract. In your head, can you do 13 taken away from 21? How much? 8. Is it positive or negative?
Positive.
It's positive, so I take how far is 8 away from 0? 8. Do not leave your answer with the bars, Jade. Okay? That means you haven't finished the problem. Your answer is 8. So don't ever leave your answer in the absolute value. So when do we take the absolute value? Make a big note to yourself. You take it when you're all the way down to one number. And only then. And once again, what is our definition? It is the distance away from 0. Okay? Distance away from 0. Alright, back to that back corner. 6 minus 14, is it down to one number? No. So I've got 6 plus a negative 14. What's 6 plus a negative 14? Positive 7 or negative 9? Or neither? What are we thinking here? Jimmy, what do you think? 6 plus negative 14? Negative 8. And how far is negative away from 0? 8. Two very different problems, two very similar answers. So as you're doing absolute value, make a note to yourself, put a big arrow that says get it down to one number first, then take your absolute value. All right? Now, as we're looking at our stuff tonight, today's homework is very straightforward because I want you to focus on two pieces tonight. I want you to focus on not only our homework, which will go very quickly, hopefully, but I also want you to focus on the practice quiz.